Teen Girl/Young Woman Guide. Teen Girl Young Woman Introduction. No matter what, you're always just you in your essence. All the technology and psychobabble BS in the world will not ever change who you really are. Then after the foibles of youth are over and all those fantastic fantasies you had don't come to pass the way you wanted, at some point, the people who reach enlightenment realize life is always just now. You live alone in your head. It's just about what you create day by day. All that stuff about being cool and fashionable, the phony world of glamour on the screen, peer pressure and fitting in don't matter at some point in time because everyone goes their own way, mostly working for the man, living in their little fantasy, whatever it is. Most people try the family life. No matter what, at heart, you will always just be you. There is a sense of inner self-respect you had better discover and live by if you don't want to end up another generic brainwashed clone. The hardest thing about being a young woman is being yourself and not allowing yourself to get brainwashed by the glitter of pop culture glamour or becoming hardened, hating men then trying to be overly ambitious in a capitalist world. Be yourself. As far as sex goes, it's natural to masturbate. Should you have sex outside of marriage? Christians don't. I try to be a Christian so I shouldn't be a hypocrite and say do what you feel, but I believe you should follow your true nature as long as you don't hurt anybody, any animals, and if you want to get extreme about it, don't hurt the earth. Don't take more than you need and be a pig. Don't be like all those girls I knew in the past who somehow equated happiness, self-worth and some other fantasies with how much clothes and jewelry they had. It's bad if you got 100 dresses while UNICEF says about 30,000 children die every day of treatable diseases. I simply don't respect people who live in material excess even though that's the code of the capitalist pop culture world. People like me will never fall in love with a vain girl because we know she's a selfish trivial piece of crap on the inside. If you call that fun, then go to Vegas and immerse yourself in the fake lifestyle. See how long before you realize there is something unwholesome about this place. If you're looking for a real guy, don't be frivolous all the time. At least know why the world is messed up. It's because of greedy, evil people trying to get as much money and power as they can, doing whatever they must to pursue their evil acts. At least know what imperialism is and why we should live and let live. As far as youthful beauty goes, yours will fade like everybody else. I looked up some of the beauties I knew in my youth on Facebook. They don't look beautiful on the outside now. Some feminists said your good looks might help you until you're 40, then you had better start preparing for your retirement by working and saving money. Be careful. Most young men are simply not honorable. That's a commentary on the human race. It's horrible out there, lots of wolves in sheep's clothing. You live in your own head alone regardless of what social group or community you might think you're part of. Everybody is really a loner going through life alone most of the time. A lot of young people don't know this. They give too much power to what the collective group says about them. You should listen to voice within. That's the most powerful thing you own. As long as you don't break any laws, hurt people or animals or do anything immoral, your life is yours to do with as you please. A lot of young people buy into other people's views of life, plus they buy into the view of life marketed on TV. Loneliness is partially a real phenomena, feeling alone, but it's partially brainwashed too with all the love movies and the pressure to be paired off. People go out of their way to make you feel deficient if you're not in a relationship. The truth is that most marriages are not very intimate at all. Get real. Look at some of the couples anywhere. Do they look like they're having great fun and great sex together? It's better to be alone than to be with some uninspired generic person just because you don't want to be alone. That's probably the best piece of advice that will go unheeded in human history. Most men are terrible lovers and they aren't monogamous by nature. Everybody pretends that we're gonna get married and live cute lives, but the truth is less desirable. You have to learn on your own. I did most of my learning through experience. I realized I'm a hedonist. It's the way I was born. I don't fight who I am. Most men do. They end up stressed out. That's why most families are not a pretty Disney-like picture. This book will help open your mind to the truth, which is that if you discover your true nature, then honor it by releasing most of that natural energy inside of you every day to do something good that you like to do and are proud of. You will live a much better life than most people. Chapter 1. Girl Power Info. Teenage Girl's Essay. Hot child in the city. Runnin' wild and lookin' pretty. So young to be loose and on her own. Young boys they all want to take her home. Hot child in the city. Pop song, Group Suite, Nick Gilder, 1978. Sylvia, the fair, in the bloom of 15. Felt an innocent warmth as she lay on the green. She had heard of a pleasure and something she guessed. By the tousing and tumbling and touching her breast. She saw the men eager but was at a loss. What they meant by their sighing and kissing so close. By their praying and whining. And clasping and twining. And panting and wishing. And sighing and kissing. And sighing and kissing so close. John Dryden, A New Song, 1685. This is a general guide to help teen girls and young women live in the world independently, making their own way, paying their own bills. It's not a teen girl love guide. It's mostly about identity, which is very hard because of the massive brainwash, especially with self-obnies, such that everybody's nose is into theirs almost everywhere you look when you're out in public. I'm old school, but old school is real. No matter what, you're always just you in your essence. All the technology and psychobabble BS in the world will not ever change who you really are. Then after the foibles of youth are over and all those fantastic fantasies you had don't come to pass the way you wanted, at some point, the people who reach enlightenment realize life is always just now. You live alone in your head. It's just about what you create day by day. All that stuff about being cool and fashionable, the phony world of glamour on the screen, peer pressure and fitting in don't matter at some point in time, because everyone goes their own way, mostly working for the man, living in their little fantasy, whatever it is. Most people try the family life. No matter what, at heart, you will always just be you. There is a sense of inner self-respect you had better discover and live by if you don't want to end up another generic brainwashed clone. The hardest thing about being a young woman is being yourself and not allowing yourself to get brainwashed by the glitter of pop culture glamour or becoming hardened, hating men, then trying to be overly ambitious in a capitalist world. Be yourself. As far as sex goes, it's natural to masturbate. Should you have sex outside of marriage? Christians don't. I try to be a Christian, so I shouldn't be a hypocrite and say do what you feel, but I believe you should follow your true nature as long as you don't hurt anybody, any animals, and if you want to get extreme about it, don't hurt the earth. Don't take more than you need and be a pig. Don't be like all those girls I knew in the past who somehow equated happiness, self-worth and some other fantasies with how much clothes and jewelry they had. It's bad if you got 100 dresses while UNICEF says about 30,000 children die every day of treatable diseases. I simply don't respect people who live in material excess, even though that's the code of the capitalist pop culture world. If you're looking for a real guy, don't be frivolous all the time. At least know why the world is messed up. It's because of greedy, evil people trying to get as much money and power as they can, doing whatever they must to pursue their evil acts. At least know what imperialism is and why we should live and let live. As far as youthful beauty goes, yours will fade like everybody else. I looked up some of the beauties I knew in my youth on Facebook. They don't look beautiful on the outside now. Some feminist said your good looks might help you until you're 40, then you had better start preparing for your retirement by working and saving money. Be careful. Most young men are simply not honorable. That's a commentary on the human race. It's horrible out there, lots of wolves in sheep's clothing. You live in your own head alone, regardless of what social group or community you might think you're part of. Everybody is really a loner going through life alone most of the time. A lot of young people don't know this. They give too much power to what the collective group says about them. Are you strong enough to grow up to be who you really are rather than get taken in by all that phony angst about love, sex, beauty, purity, thinness, and glamour out there directed at young women, all in an effort to sell them product and keep them down, feeling inferior and confused about themselves? Today's teenage girls don't have a hope in hell to develop any true tested authentic character if they're anywhere weak and easily manipulated. The most powerful message they get from society en masse, both through the media and the peer pressure by all their friends who have all been somewhat brainwashed by the media, is to be as thin as possible, as beautiful as possible, in order to attract firstly a cute, cool-looking guy, then later on, to attract a guy with money who will take care of them, and finally, to be cool and trendy as defined by pop culture, namely frivolous women's magazines, teen queen pop star videos, the fashion industry, and TV sitcoms. I've seen no less than 3 adult actresses/porn stars describe themselves as role models for other girls. And then we got these manufactured teen pop stars equating sluttiness with coolness, such that if you watch that one certain trashy talk show, you will soon see that one of their most common themes is the young teenage and pre-teenage girls brought on by their parents acting like they're going on 25, just graduated from stripper school, being all slutty, dressed half-naked, thinking they're cool, advanced people. Of course, we have people trying to instill self-respect and moral values in our budding young ladies, namely parents, teachers, religious leaders, and other interested parties, but they're considered corny and almost don't stand a chance next to the endless parade of corporate America flashing images of scantily dressed, over-made-up young girls all over the media, trying to get girls to subscribe to this frivolous mindset, because then they will be good, little manageable neurotic clones stuck on the system's ideals of beauty and thinness, never be satisfied with their looks or how much clothes they own, so they will be reduced to lifelong consumers hooked on shopping, which is the cool, hip stereotype of the modern liberated fashionable babe anyway, and this will be the little box they will live in forever unless some of them are wise enough to see past it all to live original lives true to who they really are as human beings. Based on what I see, most young girls in a corporate commercial pop culture world will never become the original people they were meant to be, that was in their souls when they were born. They might look intelligent and well-adjusted, sound intelligent, but if you catch them at home lounging around, they're watching some makeover or fashion show, thumbing through some frivolous women's magazines. I've had contact with a number of preteen and teen girls through my friends who are their parents, and in my view, there are very few who look like they have their original minds left. Maybe I'm judging them too harshly. After all, I was a moderately brainwashed clone during my teen years, but at some point I got beyond it to be my original self. It seems to me that a lot of these girls are setting themselves up to lifetime bondage to the ideals of beauty via cosmetics and cosmetic surgery, thinness through any means possible, including all the latest gimmicks, and a frivolous lifestyle, always in pursuit of more shoes, clothes, purses and other cute little things which ultimately do nothing to enhance the true purpose of life, which is to find your soul and live by it. As far as sex goes, sex sells, which is why the corporate machine blasts out all these images at young girls, telling them to buy this so they will feel beautiful and sexy, and all kinds of nice things will happen to them, like the pleasures of sex one way or another, either through vanity, self-love, narcissism, self-pleasuring, which is implied in a number of ads and commercials, or via the Cinderella complex, be so beautiful and stunning that some prince is gonna pop out of Fantasyland and sweep you away because you're so wonderful. These are the myths being sold to young ladies in the guise of hair coloring, jewelry, cosmetics, clothing, cool cars, teen queen pop music, etc. With women's liberation, a lot of women got the right to live free lives, be independent, do what they want and earn their own money, but at the same time the sex object, Cinderella conditioning, has become so strong that many are confused and seem to evolve into a confusing mixture of the two. They become functional in the real world, able to pay their own way and all, but at the same time they're prisoners to fashion and beauty, spending their hard-earned money to try to get some cool imaginary look where they will dazzle everyone wherever they go, because this is the fantasy subtly promoted by the corporations who have a vested interest in selling young women useless things to enhance their sense of beauty, specialness, and trendiness, but it's all a lie. Sense of identity and self-respect is a quality within oneself attained from living an original life true to yourself, expending your natural inspired energy intensely on things that are meaningful and matter to you, not to work any job anywhere, get your paycheck then go off to buy a pair of stylish jeans for $100 to make yourself feel better, but it never works because none of this stuff has substance as to what a real human being living a good life is all about. Despite this Barbie doll, teen queen fantasy world I'm portraying as the realm or aspiring realm of the average American teenage girl's life, it's not easy on your average young girl aspiring to become a lady. First of all, they need money to afford all those nice things they see in TV commercials, on music videos and in frivolous women's magazines. Secondly, they have to survive socially, which means they have to look beautiful and have a boyfriend, and with the caliber of men, or should I say boys, running around these days, it's either put out or get lost, and a lot of girls fall for it, sacrificing their sexual purity to keep a boyfriend or simply because they think it's the cool thing to do based on all the TV shows portraying cool, sexy young women who look like they get around, euphemism for sexual promiscuity, as the way to aspire to be. Girls are the ones who get pregnant. They're susceptible to STDs. They still live in a world dominated by men out in the workplace, so in order to succeed out there and be feminine all at the same time, they can only go so far being ambitious and assertive, then they have to back off and repress their traditional masculine feelings because it would make them look too unladylike and could provoke retaliation by men who don't take too kindly to uppity bitches coming on too strong, invading their territory. In general, the slutty, sexy-looking girls either marry loser guys at a young age, work loser jobs, become sex workers, get AIDS, hepatitis, or some other deadly disease, get pregnant and have kids as single parents, end up drug addict stripper types on the fringes, or take the long way around to a respectable life by going back to school at the age of 25 or so, getting their GED, then going on to get some kind of marketable skill. Very few get lucky enough to be like Pam, Brittany, Naomi, or Carmen and make some money as a sex object in the entertainment industry. The good girls go to college, try to do something worthy out in the world where they're exposed to the good guys trying for the same things, so they meet one of these guys, get married, and raise a family. Maybe that's too dull for you, but if you stay in school long enough to acquire a marketable skill, at least you can get a half-decent job and pay your way in comfort without worrying about it. Unless you can do that, life will always be a struggle in unskilled, low-paying jobs or at the mercy of some guy who's paying your bills in exchange for sex and companionship. Don't expect some rich guy to marry you and take care of you, because rich guys want someone with a bit of class to them, not some skanky slut who reveals the low-class trailer trash she is when she opens her mouth and sounds like some uneducated rapper trying to talk cool. Remember, there's always that double standard. Guys who sleep around are called studs, girls who sleep around are called sluts, and that's the way it goes if you want to keep your reputation as a lady of substance. Guys are expected to sleep around. Girls are only virtuous if they keep their virginity until marriage. There's nothing wrong with staying home Friday and Saturday night while you set out to do something meaningful with your life. That whole thing about going out partying is a myth put forth by corporate forces who want to keep selling you product. The classiest girls are the ones who go through school, get a decent job, or pursue an original activity on their own, then set their lives up as independent people. They're the ones the honorable guys are attracted to, not the slutty ones who might look sexy but in the light of day get very one-dimensional, stupid, phony, fragile, temperamental, vain, insecure, neurotic, and arrogant all at the same time, not to mention they're always puffing away at cigarettes because they got no substance, aka identity, backing them up. By classy, I don't mean the opposite extreme of the slutty persona. It's not the bubbly cheerleader hanging out at the sorority house with her bleach blonde hair and her trendy clothes driving the sports car daddy bought her. This is too over the top and naive. There's no true tested character there. I'm talking about a down-to-earth girl with a gentle nature who knows what's going on, including all the pain in the world, as opposed to that teen queen pop culture fantasy image the frivolous women's magazines try to portray. Somebody with a healthy curiosity about life who's nevertheless calm and easygoing about things. She doesn't have to prove herself to anybody or live by those imaginary ideals created by the pop culture media. She dresses nice but works a job to earn her money while she's going through school and doesn't hang out with the so-called in crowd because she knows they're a bunch of insecure airheads who don't have much individuality, originality, or the courage to be themselves. They need the group and the fake exterior of being trendy in order to give themselves their feelings of worth, and this stuff is about as stable as the current fashions which will be gone in 6 months. I'm certainly happy I'm a man and don't have to put up with all this bull about society trying to pigeonhole me to be a certain way. A girl never has the freedom a guy has simply by virtue of smaller size and physical weakness relatively speaking. I can go anywhere I want, even to the darkest ghetto of any major city, and nobody's gonna bother me. At 220 pounds with a look that's been called Italian, Mexican, Indian, Russian, high class, low class, working class, somebody's cousin, somebody's friend, I can go anywhere and look like a typical middle-of-the-road mook and nobody will pick me out of the crowd and target me for exploitation. But girls, especially young, naive girls, have to watch out for this over and above all the other hassles of growing up to be a woman. If you watch the crime documentaries, you will soon see the most common victim is the young female, still a little bit too naive and trusting of the world. What can I really say? You don't want to be a prude and listen to what your parents say, but they have your best interests at heart and are only trying to protect you. Whenever you go out, be aware of who you're with, where you are, and don't get drunk in an unfamiliar place, at least without a friend around to look out for you. I've seen my share of young girls exploited by guys. It was basic stuff, guys pretending to love them or outright getting them high to use them for sex, which is not all bad because they come out alive with a new notch in their belt in the experience of life, but there are a lot of truly evil people out there, so you have to watch yourself all the time. Read the sections on date rape, domestic violence, etc. I guess it's the same for every generation. Young people are naive and vain, think they can do anything, and they do, to the horror of their parents and other concerned elders. Most will make it through and start to get conservative by about the age of 28 or so, but there will be a small percentage who won't make it either through such things as drug overdoses, alcoholic poisoning, accidents due to drugs and booze, using cars as toys, getting an STD, being the victim of a violent crime, reckless adventuring, exploitation by others, or suicide. These are the casualties of coming of age for any generation. I was no saint when I was a kid, but I was a male with a tough exterior who was lucky several times, but I also had sense too. I knew when I was going too far or getting burnt, and I always got out before I did something that hurt me too much, but I've had several situations where I could have easily died. That's the only advice I would give to any teenage kids if I had them. I would tell them to live original lives not bound by all that pop culture crap out there, keep one foot on the ground, grounded in practical reality, where your paycheck is coming from, go out and experience life because that's what youth is for, but don't trust anyone you don't know too well, and always be aware of your surroundings so you have a fighting chance should anyone try something on you. Other than that, take care of your body for the health of it, not necessarily for the beauty of it, because it's the only one you get. Don't smoke cigarettes to look cool and keep your weight down. It's the stupidest thing anyone can do. If you have friends who are basically losers with nothing going on except to catch a buzz, distance yourself from them. Make it alone if you have to. Get a cat for comfort if you need something. Don't get piercings or a tattoo until you're at least 30 years old and have some of your own mind. At anywhere from 14 to 29, you think you're enlightened, liberated, and all that, but you're still a brainwashed fool, prisoner to the grand illusion of trendiness. If you still want these things at 30, get 'em, but until then, if you do, I will bet you will regret it. Sister quotes and one-liners. A toast once heard, degree to my big sister, who never found her second Easter egg until I'd found my first. A sister is a little bit of childhood that can never be lost. A sister is a forever friend. A sister can be seen as someone who is both ourselves and very much not ourselves, a special kind of double. Toni Morrison. A sister is a gift to the heart, a friend to the spirit, a golden thread to the meaning of life. A sister smiles when one tells one's stories, for she knows where the decoration has been added. Chris Montaigne. A sister shares childhood memories and grown-up dreams. An older sister is a friend and defender, a listener, conspirator, a counselor, and a sharer of delights. And sorrows too. An older sister helps one remain half child, half woman. Are always underfoot. But if catastrophe should strike, sisters are there, defending you against all comers. As you get older, they're the only ones who don't get bored if you talk about your memories. It's hard to be responsible, adult, and sensible all the time. Between sisters, the child's cry never dies down. Never leave me, it says, do not abandon me. Big sisters are the crabgrass in the lawn of life. Bless you, my darling, and remember you are always in the heart, oh tucked so close there is no chance of escape, of your sister. Catherine Mansfield. Brothers and sisters are as close as hands and feet. Children of the same family, the same blood, with the same first associations and habits, have some means of enjoyment in their power, which no subsequent connections can supply. Jane Austen, Mansfield Park, 1814. Having a sister is like having a best friend you can't get rid of. You know whatever you do, they'll still be there. Help one another, is part of the religion of sisterhood. Louisa May Alcott. How good it is to have a sister whose heart is as young as your own. How do people make it through life without a sister? I, who have no sisters or brothers, look with some degree of innocent envy on those who may be said to be born to friends. I don't believe an accident of birth makes people sisters or brothers. It makes them siblings, gives them mutuality of parentage. I would like more sisters, that the taking out of one, might not leave such stillness. Emily Dickinson. I know some sisters who only see each other on Mother's Day and some who will never speak again. But most are like my sister and me. Linked by volatile love, best friends who make other best friends ever so slightly less best. Patricia Folk. I know my older sister loves me because she gives me all her old clothes and has to go out and buy new ones. If sisters were free to express how they really feel, parents would hear this, give me all the attention and all the toys and send Rebecca to live with grandma. If your sister is in a tearing hurry to go out and cannot catch your eye, she's wearing your best sweater. If you don't understand how a woman could both love her sister dearly and want to wring her neck at the same time, then you were probably an only child. In the cookies of life, sisters are the chocolate chips. In thee my soul shall own combined the sister and the friend. It was nice growing up with someone like you, someone to lean on, someone to count on. Someone to tell on. More than Santa Claus, your sister knows when you've been bad and good. My sister taught me everything I really need to know, and she was only in 6th grade at the time. Of two sisters, one is always the watcher, one the dancer. Our brothers and sisters are there with us from the dawn of our personal stories to the inevitable dusk. Our siblings. They resemble us just enough to make all their differences confusing, and no matter what we choose to make of this, we are cast in relation to them our whole lives long. Our siblings push buttons that cast us in roles we felt sure we had let go of long ago, the baby, the peacekeeper, the caretaker, the avoider. It doesn't seem to matter how much time has elapsed or how far we've traveled. Jane Mursky Letter. Our roots say we're sisters, our hearts say we're friends. She is your mirror, shining back at you with a world of possibilities. She is your witness, who sees you at your worst and best and loves you anyway. She is your partner in crime, your midnight companion, someone who knows when you are smiling, even in the dark. She is your teacher, your defense attorney, your personal press agent, even your shrink. Some days, she's the reason you wish you were an only child. Barbara Alpert. Sibling relationships outlast marriages, survive the death of parents, resurface after quarrels that would sink any friendship. They flourish in 1,000 incarnations of closeness and distance, warmth, loyalty, and distrust. Siblings are the people we practice on, the people who teach us about fairness and cooperation and kindness and caring, quite often the hard way. Pamela Dugdale. Sister to sister we will always be. A couple of nuts off the family tree. Sisterhood is powerful. Sisterhood and brotherhood should be love. Sisterly love is, of all sentiments, the most abstract. Nature does not grant it any functions. You go Betty. Sisters may share the same mother and father but appear to come from different families. Sisters never quite forgive each other for what happened when they were young. Sisters is probably the most competitive relationship within the family, but once the sisters are grown, it becomes the strongest relationship. Sisters are blossoms in the garden of life. We may look old and wise to the outside world, but to each other, we are still in junior school. Whatever you do, they will love you. Even if they don't love you, they are connected to you till you die. Sisters don't need words. They have perfected a language of snarls and smiles and frowns and winks, expressions of shock, surprise and incredulity and disbelief. Sniffs and snorts and gasps and sighs, that can undermine any tale you're telling. One of the best things about being an adult is the realization that you can share with your sister and still have plenty for yourself. Betsy Cohen. Sisters share the scent and smells, the feel of a common childhood. Sisters function as safety nets in a chaotic world simply by being there for each other. Sisters annoy, interfere, criticize. Indulge in monumental sulks, in huffs, in snide remarks. Borrow. Break. Monopolize the bathroom. Sisters are different flowers from the same garden. Solace is in the arms of a sister. Sweet is the voice of a sister in the season of sorrow, and wise is the counsel of those who love us. Benjamin Disraeli. The best thing about having a sister was that I always had a friend. The mildest, drowsiest sister has been known to turn tiger if her sibling is in trouble. Clara Ortega. There is no better friend than a sister. And there is no better sister than you. There can be no situation in life in which the conversation of my dear sister will not administer some comfort to me. To the outside world we all grow old. But not to brothers and sisters. We know each other as we always were. We know each other's hearts. We share private family jokes. We remember family feuds and secrets, family griefs and joys. We live outside the touch of time. We acquire friends and we make enemies, but our sisters come with the territory. We have been banded together under pack codes and tribal laws. We know one another's faults, virtues, catastrophes, mortifications, triumphs, rivalries, desires, and how long we can each hang by our hands to a bar. What's the good of news if you haven't a sister to share it? When mom and dad don't understand, a sister always will. Elder sisters never can do younger ones justice. When sisters stand shoulder to shoulder, who stands a chance against us? You can kid the world but not your sister. You keep your past by having sisters. You can be boring and tedious with sisters, whereas you have to put on a good face with friends. Chapter 2. Teenage Parent. Teen Pregnancy Info. The typical teenage couple gets pregnant either because of magical thinking that stuff happens to other people, not them, or intimidation by the boy who either threatens to leave the girl if she doesn't put out or calls her a prude and a pansy and says everybody else is doing it, what's the big deal? Most teenagers know about STDs and pregnancy, but the ones that get pregnant chose to go without a condom for one reason or another. I'm not one to judge. If you have sex without a condom, you stand a good chance of getting pregnant. Once you're pregnant, there are many issues to deal with. Ask yourself the following questions. Do you intend to keep the baby? Will you finish school while pregnant? Will you raise the baby? Go on welfare? Work a job? Will the guy marry you? Get a job? Where will you live? With his parents? Your parents? Your own apartment? Do you intend to have an abortion? Who will you ask to help you go through with it? Who will pay for it? Are you going it alone? Has the guy abandoned you? Even if the guy stays by your side, is he a man or a snivelly little mouse who can't do much except live off your welfare check and smoke your cigarettes? Do you feel like an outcast at school? Do people stay away from you? Do your parents and siblings reject you or accept you? Do you know where to go to get adequate prenatal care? What about giving up the baby for adoption? Can you handle raising the child while pursuing your other goals in life? Is the guy challenging paternity? If so, get a DNA test. How is the guy, even though he's being supportive, handling it? Alcohol, drugs, and pregnancy. 800-368 baby. Teen pregnancy. 800-522-5006. America crisis pregnancy. 800-67-BABY6. American Pregnancy Helpline. 866-942-6466. PregnantTeenHelp.org. PlannedParenthood.org/health-topics/pregnancy-4250.htm, Planned Parenthood pregnancy info. fitpregnancy.com. parenting.com. teenparents.org. iwannaknow.org. hhs.gov/kids. healthywomen.org/condition/teen-health. teenpregnancy.org. plannedparenthood.org. otispregnancy.org, drug effects on fetus. etr.org/recap PCOM, Resource Center for Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention, recap. adoption.com. advocates4youth.org/publications/facts/het/fscsd.htm. aecf.org/kids count/teen/overview-overview-myths.htm. agi-usa.org/pubs, Alan Guttmacher Institute. agi-usa.org/pubs/fb_teen_sex.pdf. agi-usa.org/pubs/journals/30121998.html. americanityoptions.com. americanpregnancy.org. aspi.hhs.gov/hsp/teenp. avert.org/puberty3.htm. bbc.co.uk/radio1/onalifa/health/index.shtml ?sex. bellaonline.com/articles/art11624.asp, sex as a virgin. birthmother.com, for those considering placing a child for adoption, pre-placement, and those who have placed, post-placement. blackwomenshealth.com/teen_sex.htm. Calgary and reacfsa.gov.ab.ca/crv.nsf/left/search right/sex-pregnancy. carnegielibrary.org/teen/realis/sex-preg.html. childtrends.org/files/pubs/1996-16 sexpregnancy-and-contraception.pdf. cleveland.com/family/index.ssf?more/teen/survival/sex.html. confront non-marital pregnancy and sexually transmitted disease. connectforkids.org/node/207. connectforkids.org/taxonomy/term/269?? courageouschoice.com. crisispregnancy.com. editors.net/teen.pregnancy.htm. accidental teen pregnancy, online pregnancy test. crisispregnancy.com/birth-mothers/expectant-fathers.html. eaglevillehospital.org/pdfs/drugs-sex-pregnancy.pdf. number sign search =single quote sex pregnancy single quote drug use. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/teenage_pregnancy. femalefirst.co.uk. findarticles.com/p/articles/me_m237/is_1_39/ai_87080441. fredericksburg.com/news/fls/2004/10032004/152043/printer_friendly. girlmom.com. guttmacher.org. hawaii.edu/hiv/AIDS/effect_under/of_the_score of_the_score the_score risk_development.pdf number sign search single quote sex pregnancy single quote heads-away-just-say.com/sex.htm health.msn.com/pregnancy-kids/article page.aspx?cp-document ID =1000500307 health.msn.com/pregnancy-kids/article page.aspx?cp-document ID =1001372224 health.yahoo.com/topics/pregnancy/resources/articles/healthwise/AA52337 healthscoot.com/subchannel/1/1594/1628/main.html hindustanlink.com/sex/index-sex.htm hpb.gov.sg/hpb/default.asp?pg_id=1061 iwannaknow.org Teen Sexuality joy101.org/bk1home.html kaisernetwork.org/daily_reports/rep_id=$22555 kaisernetwork.org/daily_reports/rep_id=$37275 kff.org Teen Pregnancy, Teen Sex kff.org Teen Pregnancy, Teen Sex kidsworld.com/site/p1903.htm letsgtrail.org/english/nr_ca views.htm life-options.org lifeoptionsacademy.org New Mexico medicalnewstoday.com/medicalnews.php?news ID =43544 medinstitute.org a non-profit organization to menstuff.org/issues/by-issues/teensexpregnancy.html mith2.umd.edu/crge/excel.php?ID =150 moappp.org/emonthly/emonthly2006june.html ncbi.nlm.nih.gov nlm.nih.gov/medlineplus/teenagepregnancy.html wiki.answers.com/q/is_financial_support_for_pregnant_teens noappp.org newyorkclu.org/rrp_rppt5.html, the rights of pregnant and parenting teens. obgyn.net/yw/articles/aecf/myths.htm. parentingvsadoption.com. paychcentral.com/scihelp/chap10/chap10u.htm, premarital sex. pharmacyaccess.org/pdfs/consumerflyer.pdf. plannedparenthood.org. quiz.ivillage.com/parenting/tests/hollywood pregnancy double.htm, DST=RSS4_today. quiz.ivillage.com/parenting/tests/teensx.htm. reachout.com.au/index.asp?3%MWI=2%T=19. somber.com/chuck/teensx.htm. siecuz.org/pub/fact/fact0020.html, Sexuality Information and Education Council of the U.S. soc.ucsb.edu/sexynfo ?article=pregnancy&ref ID =002. somazone.com.au/content.asp?document_ID =104. sonoma-county/health/ph/clinics/pp_bc.hdm Stayteen.org sxcdc.org/index.php ?topic =pregnancy +m+i or +is she. Teen advice. Dead website/library. teencarecenter.org teenhealthfx.com/answers/1030.html teenparents.org teenpregnancy.com teenpregnancy.org teenpregnancy.org teenwire.com thebody.com/siecuz/sexandpregnancy.html thehelpline.org/guys-corner, pregnancy for guys theliafchronicle.com thenationalcampaign.org the National Campaign to Prevent Teen Pregnancy udel.edu/ccrs/pdf/voices97.pdf unfpa.org/adolescents virginiapregnancy.org/teenfacts.html womenshealthchannel.com/teenpregnancy/sexeducation.shtml The Council for Exceptional Children, CEC 1110 North Glebe Road Number 300 Arlington, Virginia 22201 800-328-0272 703-620-3660 703-264-9446 TTY Fax 703-264-9494 Service at cec.sped.org cec.sped.org publishes Double Jeopardy, Pregnant and Parenting Youth in Special Education Home and School Institute 800-634-2872 Booklet Get Smart, Advice for Teens, about teen pregnancy March of Dimes Birth Defects Foundation, MDBDF 1275 Mamaroneck Avenue White Plains, New York 10605 888 Modimes 800-367-6630 914-428-7100 Fax 914-428-8203 Modimes.org Publishes Risks and Result, Making Responsible Life Choices, Teen Parenting National Institute of Child Health and Human Development Building 31 Number 232 9000 Rockville Pike Bethesda, Maryland 20892 301-496-5133 nih.gov/nichd National Organization on Adolescent Pregnancy, Parenting and Prevention, NOPE 1319 F St. N.W. Number 401 Washington, D.C. 20004 202-783-5770 Fax 301-913-0380 noapp.org National Resource Network Publishes Directory of Adolescent Pregnancy and Parenting Programs Office of Adolescent Pregnancy Programs 200 Independence Avenue SW Number 736E Washington, D.C. 20201 202-245-7473 Publications Teen Pregnancy Prevention Clearinghouse 300 Centennial Office Building 658 Cedar St. St. Paul, Minnesota 55155 612-296-2571 Teen Motherhood/Teen Parent Info Teen parents get financial help from the government quite often only if they don't live at home with their parents. Nowadays a lot of the grandparents raise the kids as theirs. Other than that, everything is the same. You have to find daycare if you plan to go to school or work. A big difference from my days of youth is that high schools and colleges have daycare facilities. childwelfare.gov/system-wide/laws_policies/statutes/safe-haven.cfm, infant safe haven laws. girl-mom forums. youngmommies.com. Teen advice. Dead website/library/weekly/aa1221008.htm, teen motherhood. dpi.wi.gov/ssbw/teenpar.html, Wisconsin Teen Parent Resources, teenparents.org. teen-mom.tripod.com. urbanexd.uiuc.edu/teencare. teenparentconnection.org. insightstpp.org. teenageparent.org. Unwanted pregnancy info. If you get pregnant and you don't want to be, you have several options. You can look in your local phone book under pregnancy, abortion, and/or adoption services. The Christian Pregnancy Counseling Services will want you to carry the baby to term, then give it to them for adoption. They even have maternity homes where you can stay for free while you're pregnant. On the other side, the other organizations are not objective either. Planned Parenthood and the pro-choice groups are politically pro-abortion, so they seem to favor that over other options, even though they constantly deny it, saying they are pro-choice not pro-abortion. In any event, don't let yourself be manipulated. Virtually every woman later feels haunted by the unborn baby she killed. Don't let a guy or your parents manipulate you. I personally feel it's best to have the baby, then give it up for adoption. That way you won't have to feel guilty about killing an unborn baby. If you don't believe me, go to the Wall of the Unborn in Chattanooga, TN, and see all the things women have left behind in mourning for babies they had aborted. Any woman who has an abortion and it doesn't affect her later is not a real human being in my view. I once knew a woman who talked about her abortion as something she did as though it was a minor inconvenience. I never really liked her much because I thought anybody that callous couldn't be much of a feeling human being. There are some adoption agencies that specifically cater to women with unwanted pregnancies, particularly the Christian ones, but most adoption agencies desperately want kids. The younger the better, so they'll be sure to help you out in order to get a baby to adopt. Bethany.org helps women who want to adopt their children out. ChristianityOptionCenter.com. CourageousChoice.com. Maternity Homes Info. Maternity homes are residences for pregnant women, often run by Christian organizations, local governments, and adoption agencies. To find one, look for a Christian pregnancy counseling center in your local phone book. If you can't find a maternity home, go to either your local welfare office or the free medical clinic. Tell them you're pregnant and your parents want you out of the house. breathoflifesite.org/igroups/bol/adm and page/cmh, Christian Maternity Home Association. maternity-home.adoption.com, residences for pregnant women. abcadoptions.com/maternityhomes.htm. adoption.com. angelhousematernityhome.org, Charlotte, NC. asp.hhs.gov/hsp/group-04/imp05/ch2.htm, maternity group home programs. christianhomes.com. christianlifehome.org, Raleigh, NC. harborhouse.org, Christ-centered housing for pregnant teens. jmjmaternityhomes.com, Merced, CA. minnesotazolve.org, Sarasota and Bradenton, FL. morningstarmaternityhome.org. newlifepregnancycenters.org. plministries.org. punepage.com/directory/maternity_homes/1.htm. realalternatives.org/pregnant/counselorservices.asp, Pennsylvania. stgianaame.org, North Dakota. salvationarmy.org. seattlehomematernity.com, Seattle, WA. superpages.com/yellowpages, look up maternity homes. tenderlife.org, the Tender Life Maternity Home. thematernityhome.org, Annunciation Maternity Home, TX. who.in/reproductive-health/publications. Gladney Center. Ft. Worth, TX. 800 Gladney. Home for Unwed Mothers and Adoption Agency. Liberty Godparent Home. Lynchburg, VA. 800-542-4453. Home for Unwed Mothers and Adoption Agency. Southwest Methodist Mission Home. San Antonio, TX. 800-842-5433. 800-284-0410 TX. Home for Unwed Mothers and Adoption Agency. Child abandonment/unwanted baby. At least 41 states have safe haven laws where you leave your unwanted baby at a hospital emergency room, no questions asked, no legal ramifications. Call your local hospital emergency to ask if you can do it rather than possibly let the baby die. Many organizations have sprung up that would rather have you leave your baby in a prearranged spot rather than let it die somewhere. The following organizations can help you with information about where to anonymously leave a baby you don't want. The anti-abortion groups will help adopt your baby out if you're pregnant, don't want it but don't want to abort it either. If you have an unwanted child, look in your local phone book under adoptions and foster care agencies or call your local state government's Health and Human Services office. Adopting.org/adoptions/legalized-state-haven-laws-and-programs.html. adoptioninstitute.org/whow/last-report_coverpage.html, safe haven laws are causing problems, not solving them. A safe haven for newborns.com. babysafehaven.com, Massachusetts. babysafehaven.com, Massachusetts. bastards.org/mediaroom/babyabandonment.html. childwelfare.gov/system-wide/policies/statutes/safehaven.cfm. crisispregnancy.com/birth-mother/legalized-abandonment-safe-haven-laws.html. cwlaw.org/programs/preg-previous/flawcrit-safehaven.htm, Child Welfare League of America. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/safe_haven_law. home.socal.rr.com/huntington beach/safe-harbor.html, safe haven laws only do harm. law101.cite101.com/article.cfm/safe_haven_law_in_Nebraska. livescience.com/health/0810-bad-safe-haven-laws.html, safe haven laws encourage baby disposal. NewJerseySafehaven.org, New Jersey. PlannedParenthood.org, 800-4 options, 467-8466. RobinsNest.com/safehaven.htm. Safehaven.tv. SafePlaSaferNewborns.org. SaferChild.org/abandonee.htm, 877-767 Baby, a Florida organization. slcatlanta.org/publications/hsbs/safechildabandonment.pdf, Southern States Safe Child Abandonment Laws. Abandoned Baby Center. POB 84. OKC, Oklahoma 73101. 800-964-6552. Feed.tv/baby. Birthright, USA. 686 North Broad St. Woodbury, New Jersey 08096. 800-848 Love. 609-848-1819. Fax, 609-848-2380. Child Abandonment Hotline. 877-904-SAVE. Bethany Christian Services. 901 Eastern Avenue. NE. POB 294. Grand Rapids, Michigan 49501-0294. 800 Bethany. 800-238-4269. 616-224-00 7610. 562-803-3454, California. Bethany.org. Christian Child/Foster Care, Adoption Services, also Pregnancy Crisis Service. Will take unwanted babies for adoption. Christian Family Care Agency. 3603 North 7th Avenue. Phoenix, Arizona 85013. 602-234-1935. Fax, 602-234-0022. cfcare.org. Pregnancy Assistance, Adoptions. The Nurturing Network. 800-866-4666. Offers alternative to abortion, take the baby and adopt it out. Put your child up for adoption. Young women often choose to bring an unwanted pregnancy to term over abortion because of religious and moral reasons but don't want to raise the child. The most common reasons a woman gives up a child for adoption are: too young to settle down and be a parent, have other kids, can't afford the time or the money, have career aspirations, too poor to raise a child, even with social assistance, father doesn't want to be part of it, can't make it alone, immaturity, emotionally not ready, party girl, has to sow wild oats, emotional instability, mental health problems. Think it through before you make your decision. The biological father has equal rights in determining the fate of the baby as you in most cases. Assuming you're not together, either get a letter or affidavit from him terminating his rights or have his or your lawyer draft up a letter saying he will take full custody if you don't want it. If the biological father objects to giving up his rights, you might have a tough time adopting your child out because often the father's approval is needed before the adoption can be finalized. Otherwise, if the adoption takes place, he can come in any time and lay legal claim, which is a higher standing than adoptive parents unless the baby has been with them for 5 years or more, whereupon it's deemed in the best interests of the child to not uproot him or her. If you don't know who the child's father is, you should identify all the men you've been with and have DNA tests done to determine paternity, but it could be expensive at $300 per test, the current price as of this writing. Other than the biological parents, nobody else has any right to determine whether you will give your baby up for adoption, not your parents, grandparents, his parents, social workers, lawyers, clergy, etc. It's your decision alone. If you discover you're pregnant and enter the government system through the Department of Health Services, they will give you money and help you out with the medical process, and if you announce your intention to give up your child for adoption, they or any private adoption agency or adoption lawyer you contact will find prospective adoptive parents for you. After all, the demand for babies as soon after birth as possible to adopt is very high. Even though it's illegal to sell babies, money can be made by disguising the sale with services rendered as part of the birth process. You can meet with prospective adoptive parents if you want, sign an agreement whereupon they will probably start to give you money to help with your medical and living expenses in order that you stay healthy, thus keeping the fetus healthy. Some states/provinces allow payments for living expenses, some only for medical expenses. In any event, the adopting parents legally can't just throw money at the pregnant girl. The government frowns very much on the concept of baby selling, although giving it away is fine. I personally think baby selling is good because everybody gets what they want, but this is another example of the government meddling in people's affairs. Legally, any money paid to the pregnant girl is to go for expenses related to the pregnancy, either medical or both medical and living expenses. Generally, the earlier you make a solid decision about whether to put your child up for adoption, the better for you both legally and emotionally. You can generally choose the kind of adoption you want, either open, meet the parents, have contact with your child as he or she grows up, or closed, give it up immediately after birth to people you don't know, will never meet him or her and don't look back. With some open adoptions, the biological parent, visits her son or daughter regularly during the formative years, often introduced as a family friend or an aunt, then at 16 or 18, told the truth that you're the biological mother. In general, you have 3 options as to how to give your baby up for adoption. Work through the government adoption agency or a private adoption agency. Work through an adoption lawyer who always has clients looking for babies, and through him, pick from among the available couples as to who will adopt the child. The parents get to pick which baby they will adopt, so it's a two-way street. They will want to talk to you and check you out to see if you have healthy genes, are reasonably intelligent and not doing drugs, alcohol, or smoking cigarettes while you're pregnant. Choose your own adoptive parents, often friends, your parents, brothers, sisters, etc. In this case, you do the paperwork through either an agency or a lawyer. If you're uncertain about whether you want to adopt your baby out, you could give it to your state child care system and ask that it be put in foster care while you get your life in order and decide if you want to adopt it out. But this is dangerous for the child because it doesn't develop the critical maternal-infant bond it needs during the first 2 years of life in order to grow up normally emotionally. One of the newer options being offered is gay parents and singles adopting children. To find a gay couple, call around to gay groups, particularly gay family groups like PFLAG, Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays, explain the situation and they will find a gay couple for you to check it out. I cover this in my love book. You could advertise in the newspaper, something like "Pregnant teen, looking for good parents for my baby, but be careful." It could be an undercover police couple that comes to see you, and if you make any mention of payment for the baby, you could be arrested. If you choose an open adoption, everything will come down to how well you get along with the adoptive parents you choose and and how open you want the adoption to be. Some triads have great relationships right from the pregnancy, some don't. It all comes down to people chemistry. Try to pick good adoptive parents that you can relate to. After you give up the baby, there will probably be some grief and depression. Be ready for it. Counteract it by getting back into the regular inspired action of your life. It's not as if the baby died. You did something good for it. There are occasionally changes of heart after all the paperwork has been done and the couple has paid you several $1,000s for expenses during the pregnancy. Once it's done, especially for closed adoptions. Accept it, get over it and move on. You're giving the baby the greatest gift you can, a chance for a better life than if it was with you because you're a young, immature child at this point in life. If you have older children as opposed to babies, you can also put them up for adoption if you need to, even though it will be emotionally trying for them, but sometimes it's for the best if you can't handle them. Most adoptions are not a one-shot deal. You give them the baby, then there's a probationary period of 6 months or so where either side can change their minds during that time. Look in your local yellow pages under adoption for adoption agencies. Go to number 362.734 at the library for books about how to put a child up for adoption. Bethany.org helps women who want to adopt their children out. Birthmothersoptions.com. ChristianityOptionCenter.com. CourageousChoice.com. Chapter 3. Teen Prostitution Guide. Teen prostitution. Even though you see the occasional piece in the media about the authorities busting men who pay for sex with underage boys and girls in some of the third world countries, age of consent generally being from 14 to 18 depending on the country, the truth is that the kids/teens want to do it because it's a relatively easy way for them to make money. As far as I know, Cambodia, Thailand, Brazil, Eastern Europe and India are the countries where this is practiced most. The way to start is to look around for signs of massage parlors and network from there. Simply type child prostitution or teen prostitution into a few search engines and go from there. I saw a documentary about the cities of Vancouver and Edmonton in Canada, both big cities in the midst of many small towns and villages where a lot of teenage guys and girls go and turn to prostitution for the relatively easy money. The thing is, if you are caught having consenting sex for money with someone under the legal age of consent in a developed country like Canada or the United States, you could get slammed for serious charges. So if you decide to have sex with a hooker, make sure he or she is at least 18 years old. Other than that, besides the few sob stories some of these people put out about being controlled by a pimp, most are there of their own free will for the relatively easy money to get their drugs and the other things they want. If they want to risk getting beaten up and even killed by a John, nobody forced them to put themselves in that position. If prostitution was legal and run out of regulated brothels, we wouldn't have the underage problem, or at least it wouldn't be as pronounced as it is now. There are plenty of teen shelters and anti-teen prostitution groups in the big cities such that they can get help if they want it, but many like their lifestyles and probably even harbor a pretty woman fantasy of getting rescued by a good John. One of these workers at the anti-prostitution teen center said they're not buying sex from these teenagers, they're buying their innocence. So that's one viewpoint, but the other viewpoint is that teenagers and young people in general can get help if they want to live on the straight and narrow, but most prefer the faster lane lifestyle of selling their bodies, doing drugs, partying all the time, hanging out with other generic derelicts like themselves, etc. Many runaways and teenagers become prostitutes by necessity in order to earn a living. This makes them cynical real fast, because it's not at all like the glamour the movies portray it to be, and it's not like they're full-fledged adults who know what's really going on, the filthy sewer the world is at times, with everybody trying to get what they can for themselves, exploiting anyone they can along the way. They're lost kids who have to survive. Some just wanna be kids, some wanna live the fast lane lifestyle. If anything, city governments should set up programs to help these people get off the streets and do something constructive with their lives if they want to. They're the unwanted victims of society. Nobody seems to want to acknowledge them or help them except for a few Christian organizations and a few other do-gooders. The girls often do it because they're lost with nowhere else to go. Books about the subject are Teen Prostitution, 1992, by Joan Johnson. Lost Futures, Our Forgotten Children, 1997, by Stan Grossfield, Prostitution. An International Handbook on Trends, Problems, and Policies, 1993, by Nanette Davis and Backstreets. Prostitution, Money, and Love, 1992, by Cecily Hoygaard and Liv Finstad. There might be a book on teen prostitution at number 306.74 or HQ 306 at the library. Teen Prostitution. Information and Helpline. 888-525-7772. child.net/citykids.hdm, National Children's Coalition. childrenofthenight.org, 800-551-1300, helps teens out of the sex industry. clarknet.com/erd, links to all police departments in the world. cwlaw.org, Child Welfare League. ecpat.org, End Child Prostitution. Enough.org/myth, child molestation. ncmec.org, Missing and Exploited Children. protectingpeople.org. National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. 2101 Wilson Boulevard. Number 550. Arlington, Virginia 22201. 800-826-7653. 800 The Lost. 800-843-5678. 703-235-4067. missingkids.com. ncmec.org. A free publication entitled Directory of Support Services and Resources for Missing and Exploited Children describes non-profit or public support groups throughout the country dedicated to assisting missing and exploited children and their parents. Children of the Night Hotline for Runaways. POB 4343, Hollywood, California 90078. 800-551-1300. 800-564 Cotton. childrenofthenight.org. Runaway Shelter, Safe House for Teenage Prostitutes. Covenant House. Crisis Line. 800-999-9999. Helping Individual Prostitutes Survival Hotline. 800-676-4477 for Adolescent Prostitutes. National Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. 800 Compton Road. Number 9224. Cincinnati, Ohio 45231. 513-521-6227. Teen Prostitute Emotional Baggage. There's a movie floating around and an autobiographical book talked about in it, Runaway, Diary of a Street Kid, called The Diary of Evelyn Lau, about a 15-year-old Asian-Canadian girl living in Vancouver who is a pretty good writer, getting some of her poems published, but her old-fashioned parents belittle her and are never satisfied no matter what she does to try to please them and get their approval. She gets some poems published in an alternative press magazine, befriends the guys who run it, runs away from home, stays with them for a while, then turns to hooking, getting hooked on junk, heroin, but all the while writing, in the end getting the story of her life published. To me, the most revealing part of the movie was a bit when she was there talking to some old guy who was playing her psychiatrist mentor. She said when she was hooking, it's instant approval. The guys say they like her, tell her she's beautiful, and when they come, she feels that she's doing something right. Somebody likes her for that minute, she gets the approval she never got from her parents, and when you stop and think about it, this makes sense. This is why a lot of men and women get addicted to the prostitution and sex business in general, like strippers. They give the guys pleasure. They do something right and the guys give them approval, pseudo-love, by telling them they're great and giving them money. Evelyn said this was one place she felt control in her life, enticing guys, turning them on, making money. For her, it all seemed to go back to the rejection and poor treatment by her parents. She didn't get love from them but did get a temporary kind of love from her Johns, which was enough to keep her going back to the business even though she loathed it at times, as she wrote about. Caught between the disgust the world, her parents, made her feel about being a junkie hooker. When she told her father she was writing a book about her life, he said it was nothing to be proud of, while at the same time getting this instant approval where she had some control. Not everything in life is black and white. We assume teen prostitution is disgusting and exploitive, but in the cold light of the real world, a lot of teens enjoy the lifestyle compared to other things they could be doing. Teen prostitution websites. There might be a book on teen prostitution at number 306.74 at the library. Books about the legal aspects of child pornography are at number 344.710 or KE9070 or KF9444 at the library. ecpat.net, and child prostitution, child pornography, and trafficking of children. ecpat.net/eng/index.asp, ecpat.org. ecpat.org.uk. ecpatusa.org. ecpat.org.nz. Critist.com/cpnonoffent.hdm, does viewing child pornography lead to action? pbs.org/frontlineworld/react/archived/india304/react.html. unicef.org/philippines/download/childpornography.pdf. indiatogether.org/mainis-issue105/childpro.htm. indianengos.com/issues/child/projects/children of women in prostitution/prearana.htm. hsbh.harvard.edu/organizations/healthnet/repro2/compendium_child_prostitution.html. 193.194.138.190/children/rapporteur.htm. 193.194.138.190/html/menu2/6/crc/treaties/opsc.htm, optional protocol to the Convention on the Rights of the Child. abc.net.au/foreign/stories/s300306.htm, Nepal. abc.net.au/foreign/stories/s675196.htm. abcnews.go.com. afroel.com. agenda.org.za. allafrica.com. alphavilleherald.com/archives/000049.html. amazon.com, book called Brother Tony's Boys, The Largest Case of Child Prostitution in U.S. History, The True Story. amazon.com, book called Child Prostitution in Thailand, Listening to Rehab by Suraj Sorajakul. American.edu/ted/check-child-trade.hdm. Antikildporn.org. arch-ed.org/archives/child_prostitution.hdm. archives.econ.utah.edu/archives/marxism/2000w48/message00142.hdm, Pakistan. azakp.org, Adult Sites Against Child Porn. azlg.state.az.us/ars/13/032112.hdm, Arizona Law. boston.com/news. cai.ucdavis.edu/waters-sites/prostitution/child-prostitution.hdm, child prostitution in the Victorian era. cato.org/dallas/10-08-02.html. cbc.ca/manitoba/story/mb_child-prostitution-20051028.html. cbsnews.com/stories/2005/12/national/main113357.html. celebrityvalues.com/Natalie_Grant.html, Christian pop star brings the issue to her public. cgi.stanford.edu/group/way/cgi-bin/index.php?p=1391, Asia. changemakers.net/journal/03 march/index.cfm. chanel4.com/health/microsites/f/family/problems/child-prostitution.html. child.net/citykids.hdm, National Children's Coalition. child-abuse.com/childhouse/childwatch/cwi/projects/indicators/prostitution/intro.html. child-abuse.com/childhouse/childwatch/cwi/projects/indicators/prostitution/part1.html. child-abuse.com/childhouse/childwatch/cwi/projects/indicators/prostitution/ref.html. childcenter.info/projects/exploitation. childsafe-cambodia.org/abuselaws.asp. childtrafficking.com. childwise.net, a charity working to prevent and reduce the sexual abuse and exploitation of children in Australia and overseas. cha.virtualave.net/forum-child-labor.hdm, Ethiopia. clarknet.com/erd, links to all police departments in the world. co.sanmateo.ca.us/smc/department/cmo/0,1909_160418019_20002020.html, columbiajournal.org/columbia111.hdm. comminute.com/papers/p_0033.html, Thailand. commondreams.org/views/1128000-104.htm. crime-research.org. cirion.org/organizations/viewerg.asp?_name=association+sign against+sign child+sign prostitution+sign organizations, child rights information network. crion'org/organizations/viewerg.asp?id=63, child rights information network. csmonitor.com/atcs-monitor/special/children/p-part4b.html, Calgary, AIB. cwlaw.org, Child Welfare League. cyberdurio.com/features/f2004_1112_01.htm. cybermurid.com/ubbthreads/printthread.php board =ubb1 main =2911 type post India. danielpipes.org/comments/27086 India. daniel-trustries.org/abuse-index-page6.html de.state.az.us/dcyf/cps/criteria.asp democrats.assembly.ca.gov/members/1/2/op/op122003017.htm, California. econdad.org/prostitution.htm ecpat.org, End Child Prostitution in Asian Tourism. en.wikipedia.org/wiki/child_prostitution en.wikipedia.org/wiki/special_the_sale_of_the_child_and_child_pornography enough.org/myth, child molestation evangelicalfellowship.ca/pdf/prostitution c27 brief.pdf, bill c27 addresses child prostitution in Canada and overseas. facetoface.bg, child trafficking fbi.gov/page2/dis05/innocence_lost_arrest3.htm fcny.org/scripts/usq/getpage02.pl?org ID =0207 finalcall.com/national/child_prost06-05-2001.htm, Atlanta, GA. findarticles.com/p/articles/me_m126/is_632/ai_78966299, South Africa. findarticles.com/p/articles/me_m2005/is_437/ai_n60979441, child prostitution in England in the 19th century. freesays.cc/db/43/sxg181.shtml, Asia. freep.com/apps/pbcs.dll/article 8=/20051217/news05/512170320/1007/news, Detroit. freerepublic.com/focus/news/6691010/posts, scientists urge campaign to end child prostitution. globalmarch.org/resource center/world/United States of America.pdf number search =child prostitution gvnet.com/child prostitution gvnet.com/child prostitution/nicaragua.htm gvnet.com/child prostitution/vietnam.htm hartford-hwp.com/archives/47/333.html hartford-hwp.com/archives/63/003.html, Eastern Europe. hawaii.edu/hiv-and-aids/child prostitution loba-lh burden, research needs, and interventions.pdf number search =child prostitution haywardpress.com/store/product.asp?SKU =4677, child prostitution in Thailand. herseyurian.com/community/thailand/child_prostitution.htm hri.ca/4th-record-1997/documentation/e-cn4-19975-95-ad1.htm, Commission on Rights of the Child. hsbh.harvard.edu/grhf-asia/repro2/tulaza.html humantrafficking.org icjia.org internetpolicy.net ips.fi/cowlut/1997426.hdm, Philippines. ipsnews.net/africa/interna.asp?ID news =26225, Rights Asia, fight child prostitution by curbing demand. jubileeaction.co.uk/reports/child prostitution in India.pdf, India. justice.gc.ca/en/news/nr/1995/prstnbkr.html, Canada. justice.government.nz/pub/reports. kindernet.at/strasse/n-kinder/kia_pro-e.htm, Humans for Humanity. lycos.com/info/child-prostitution.html. magicalshadow.com/dacia/chlid prostitution.html. m-h-library/abuse/article-sex-rings.htm. monielatimes.net. mercalaw.com/2002/may/4/child_prostitution.htm. missingkids.com. msnbc.msn.com/id/55266645, Cuba. ncmec.org, Missing and Exploited Children. anywint.org/issue252/home.htm. news.bbc.co.uk. northcountrygazette.org/articles/121605 child prostitution ring.html. npr.org. okchar.org/english/issues/children/rapporteur/hiv.htm. okchar.org/english/issues/children/rapporteur/index.htm. okchar.org/english/law/crc-sale.htm, Convention on the Rights of the Child. oscn.net/applications/oscn/deliverdocument.asp #site id =69594. pangaea.org/street_children/latin/brzpros.htm, Brazil. pangaea.org/street_children/latin/prost.htm, Brazil. pkila.ru/english/sex for 100000_e.html, St. Petersburg, Russia. perso.wanadu.fr/patrick.gunan/ciantho/vnnews/child.htm, Vietnam. preda.org/archive/research/child-prostitution.html. priproject.homestead.com/files/introduction_page-child-prostitution-zcd.htm. prisonplanet.com/articles/January 2006/010106 sex slave scandal.htm. protectingpeople.org. protectkids.com/dangers. pucl.org/from-archive/child/prostitution.htm. questia.com/library/psychology/child-prostitution.jsp. radionetherlands.nl/current affairs/regions/Netherlands/Netherlands 011218.html, Netherlands. renewamerica.us/columns/coterie/051218. rickymartinfoundation.org/english/programs_partners/child_prostitution.aspx. stopchildpornog.at. stoptaclu.com. thaiembdc.org/social/childprs.htm, child prostitution Thailand. theawarencenter.org/schsteinberg.html, Brazil. thebodY.com/cdc/news_updates_archive/apr22_child_prostitution.html. theconservativevoice.com. thewitness.org/ag/pujuringcam.121901.html, child prostitution in Thailand by Sirarat Pujuringcam. thinkcenter.org/article.cfm ?article ID =2257, Vietnam. Times of India.indiatimes.com. ucalgary.ca/resolve/violence prevention/english/review prog/exploitintro.htm. un.org/news. unescap.org. unhchr.ch/html/menu2/dopchild.htm. unicef.org. untreaty.un.org/english/malawian/law/human_rights/4_11b right _htm Convention on the Rights of the Child. uri.edu/artsci/wms uri.edu/artsci/wms/hughes/mexico.htm. uri.edu/artsci/wms/hughes/philippi.htm, Philippines. uri.edu/artsci/wms/hughes/romania.htm, Romania. usdoj.gov/criminals/ceos/child prostitution_faqs.html. usdoj.gov/criminals/ceos/prostitution.html. victimsofviolence.on.ca/research50.html, Canada. voxfux.com/features/push_child_sex_cover-up/article_archive.htm. wired.com/wired/archive/10.10/kidporn.html. worldconnected.org/article.php/326.html. worldsexguide.org/philippines_child.text.html. world-tourism.org/protect_children. world-tourism.org/protect_children/legislation_countries/Algeria.htm. wsacp.org, websites against child porn. Child pornography Tiplin. 800-843-5678. National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. 2101 Wilson Boulevard. Number 550. Arlington, Virginia 22201. 800-826-7653. 800 The Lost. 800-843-5678. 703-235-4067. MissingKids.com. ncmec.org. A free publication entitled Directory of Support Services and Resources for Missing and Exploited Children describes non-profit or public support groups throughout the country dedicated to assisting missing and exploited children and their parents. Children of the Night Hotline for Runaways. POB 4343, Hollywood, California 90078. 800-551-1300. 800-564 Cotton. Runaway Shelter, Safe House for Teenage Prostitutes. National Coalition for the Protection of Children and Families. 800 Compton Road. Number 9224. Cincinnati, Ohio 45231. 513-521-6227. Chapter 4. Young Women Issues. California Condom Access Project run by teensource.org. A division of the nonprofit California Family Health Council mails condoms to California teens for free. Some teens can't afford condoms. Some teens are embarrassed to go to a free clinic to pick them up. The bottom line is to avoid unwanted pregnancies and STIs. International Day of the Girl. October 11th is a day to defend girls across the world. I've seen female genital mutilation and I've written about the violence against Muslim women in my book about violence against women. It's really horrible. Islam is not a religion. It's a misogynistic mental cult against women despite the bull I've seen about Muslim women being equal to men. I already said that the UN and the WHO need a worldwide toll-free number and a safe house somewhere like in Spain right across from Morocco where all women stuck in the Muslim curse can go to in order to escape, but they won't listen to me. They'll listen if a billion women got together and demanded it. Go on YouTube and you can examples of all the violence against women. In addition, there are arranged marriages, rape, illiteracy, education not allowed, infanticide, no birth control, STIs. dayofthegirl.org, dayofthegirl.org/blog, dayofthegirl.org/campaigns, un.org/en/events/girlchild, facebook.com/dayofthegirl, twitter.com/dayofthegirl, dayofthegirlus.tumblr.com.